Yo, what's up, guys? This is D Brown with Trackheads. I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Trackheads. So, we have a topic today. Okay, someone sent me this question in, and they've been, I'm a coach, so they've been asking me like, "Yo, if you were Femke Bowles' coach, what would you have her do heading into the next year, in which she can ensure that she's more competitive or that she can beat Sydney McLaughlin," right? So I thought about it. I thought about it because we all saw what happened in the Olympics. Sydney ran away with it. Olympic trials, world record, and then Olympic Games, world record again, 50.3. Femke Bowles did improve. She went 50.95 at altitude, but pretty much, she got beat into third place at the Olympic Games. So what would you tell her to improve on for her to be a more formidable opponent for Sydney McLaughlin? Because Sydney McLaughlin is just out of this world right now. And I really thought about it, and I came up with 4 to 5 different things that I think that she can improve on to be a more formidable opponent when it comes to racing Sydney. So, the first thing I would have to say is that Sydney McLaughlin is faster than her outright, right? Sydney McLaughlin is so dangerous because she's not just the traditional, like, I run the 400-meter hurdles and that's it, and my events outside the 400-meter hurdles are just average. She's elite in pretty much everything that she has run. She's run under, 11.2-ish and faster. She's run, as you see this year, 22.07, right? 22.07 is nothing to sneeze at. That would get you to the 200-meter final in pretty much every single world championship or Olympic Games. And she ran that twice. I think she ran 22.2 and then 22.07 this year, and she's also, like I said, she just has really tremendous speed and speed endurance. In comparison to Femke Bowles, she ran 22.64 indoor season, right? Maybe has the ability to go 22.5 outdoors, but we never really see it. So, I mean, you're talking about 22.07 and then 22.64. For a regular Joe, they may be thinking, oh, it's only half a second, but you have to realize in the 400-meter hurdles, that's the difference between the speed in which you can come through in the first 200. If we look back at the Olympic Games race, one of the major differences, or the reason why Femke Bowles ended up going into third place, is because Sydney McLaughlin ran that first 200 of the 400-meter hurdles in about 23.9, right? Femke Bowles came through at like 24.0, right on her tail, because Sydney McLaughlin was on the inside, Femke Bowles was on the outside. So Femke Bowles' mind, she's probably thinking like, hey, I don't want this girl to catch me. I got to run faster than what I usually run. And when it's time for them to come home off of that curve, Femke Bowles was cooked. As strong as she is, she was cooked. With Sydney McLaughlin, that was part of her race strategy. Now, if they came at the 200 basically at the same 23.9, 24 flat, same exact time really, just a couple hundreds, thousands of a millisecond off, they're coming through at the same exact time. Who had an easier time to get there? Sydney, if all things are considered equal, and they're both just as strong. Sydney McLaughlin had over a half a second of speed reserve in comparison to Femke Bowles, who only had a 22.64 PR, and that was last year, right? So definitely things to consider when you're thinking about, strategy, and when you're thinking about head-to-head matches and stuff like that, because half of a second is a little too much. So the first thing I would say to Femke Bowles is that she has to get faster. Now, mind you, 22.6 is still a quality time, especially indoors. Like, that's no slouch of a time. But we need to see her start to get down there to 22.4s, 22.3s, right? To be able to be more comfortable hitting some of those 24 low paces that she needs to run 50 consistently, because 50 seconds for a 400-meter hurdle race is moving. That's why it's considered the world record, right? So that's something that Femke Bowles has to improve on. Number 2, I think it goes without saying that Femke Bowles is strong, not just like regular strong, like she's really, really strong. Every 400 or 4x4, or really 4x4 that we've seen from her, she's always come back in the last 150, right? She's been able to hawk people down the last 50 meters. Like, she's the epitome of strength. 5'11", 5'10", super lanky, super tall, super strong. She also hosts the indoor 500-meter world record. That not really talked about. She did that, I think, in 2022, I think. Right, so in the New Balance Stadium when it opened up, the same meet, I think Noah Lyles beat Trayvon Bromell. That was 2020. I think that was 2022. So really, really impressive stuff. And I think that she can continue to get stronger, right? Because I think Sydney is just as strong as her. Even if Sydney's a little bit weaker, because Sydney has so much speed reserve, it's not, it has to be a balanced equation. Like, either you have to be so much stronger than her, than Sydney, in the same capacity in which she's faster than you, or you have to make up so much more strength because you're compensating for that lack of speed. So it really just depends. I think, she has to continue improving on her strength, and really see, like, give herself a test, maybe seeing if she can break the 500-meter world record again and push that barrier a little bit more. Because like I said, it's no secret that she's talented, but she has to improve that. Also, so that was number 2. So number 3, I would say that she needs to fix her ability to hurdle better, right? To be a better technician. So as we saw, as Sydney got older and she started training with Bobby Kersey, she started doing a lot of things now outside of her comfort zone, such as hurdling with the opposite leg. And I think that she got so proficient at hurdling with the opposite leg because now they're doing 14 steps, where 14 steps have you alternating each time, and they're flirting with those kind of race rhythms and race models. You have to be able to be just as proficient on the left leg or her non-dominant leg as her right leg or whatever her dominant leg is. I mean, and she got down to 12.7. Now, 12.7 isn't like a 12.2 that Messiah Russell ran to win the Olympic Games. She's not a 12.3, but 12.7 is still cooking. That's still considered pretty elite. So, and she's doing that with the non-dominant leg, which really shows her mastery of that leg. I haven't seen Femke Bol do no hurdles, right? And not to say that she has to, but that's a good measurement to say that Sydney McLaughlin is probably the better technician to be able to 3-step and still have that non-dominant leg come up in such a way that it's still pretty fast. Mind you, Sydney McLaughlin also trains with Kenny Harrison, which used to be the world record holder, right? So she has someone who is world class, is a world class elite 100-meter hurdler to train with. So I'm not saying that Femke Bol isn't a technician, but I don't think she's as much of a technician in terms of hurdle proficiency as Sydney McLaughlin is, because Sydney has shown in her races, hey, I can hurdle and run 12.7, 12.6, 12.8 on my bad leg. On my good leg, she's probably like a 12.6, 12.5, which is elite, hella elite. Most 400-meter hurdlers can't do that. Not at the talent level that Sydney is in a 400-meter hurdle. So definitely something to consider as well. Also, I would say that Femke Bol has to be a better technician, right? So I think the biggest reason why that she lost that Olympic Games is that technically she took a chance that she shouldn't have taken. Which, you don't know until you know. Sometimes you got to get out of your comfort zone. But when you look at the splits, right, of running 50 seconds, if Sydney McLaughlin came through at 23.9, that means she finished up in about 26, like super low, right? It's a 2-second differential. That really shows the strength of Sydney McLaughlin over hurdles. That's really, really impressive, right? Femke Bol came through at 24 flat and was cooked and basically went 52 high to finish up, which meant that she ran 24, that's 28 seconds the last 200. I think and again, you don't know until you know, but I also think that technical wise, she should have been, with the strength that Femke Bol has, it may have been a better strategy to run 24.5, right? Maybe be behind. Sure, Sydney McLaughlin caught you in the first 200, but with that extra half a second of reserve that you had, you may have been able to finish in like a 26, and maybe you wouldn't have won. Maybe she was running to win, but again, to make that kind of move and get out that aggressive seemed very uncharacteristic of Femke Bol. Usually she's very good at running her own race, and in that last 100 meters, if she's behind, she makes up so much ground because she's so strong. So I think she makes a lot of technical mistakes that, again, we don't really see Sydney make a lot of technical mistakes. Even more so, Sydney, I think she's more of a strategist along with her coach that a lot of people don't think about, because that's how they were able to beat Dalila. They realized that Dalila was super strong, but if we get just as strong and get faster and become more technically efficient, we're going to be able to beat her in the final stages of that last 150, where her ability to be super strong and max out her strengths comes at a disadvantage because she used so much energy at the first part to keep up with the amount of speed that I have. So I think we underestimate how strategic Sydney is, and we have to make sure that Femke Bol is just as strategic and technical when it comes to her races and not making the careless mistakes that she made at the Olympic Games, which cost her a silver medal. And also I would say, I will also say this, Sydney has a faster 400-meter time than Femke Bol. She ran 48.7. She ran 48.7 twice. One thing I will say about Femke Bol is that she has run 49.1 indoors, and I don't understand why. They do really well with these indoor 400. She has the 400-meter indoor world record, does tremendously well. But I'm very surprised that they don't have her flirt with the 400 meters outdoors. Because I know that I guess it's a race rhythm thing. They're trying to make sure that, her race rhythm is great. But they're pretty, evenly for the most part. I would say Sydney probably has a step on her. But I would say Femke Bol has to improve, and maybe run some open 400s outdoors and really get down to 48. Because if she can get down to 48, then you're talking about you have two 400-meter hurdlers that are in the 48 zone. Because if you look back again, I like to look back in time. If you look at Dalilah Muhammad, Dalilah only went 50 flat, 50.5 maybe for the open 400, which is really impressive. She got down to 51 low, 51.0, 51.2, something like that. It's really impressive that she ran 51 at all off of running at 50 and some change. Really show how strong and technical that she was. But again, if you're trying to compete against someone who's faster than you, you have to make sure that you fill in all the gaps that you can. Which in this case, for my last point, has to be the 400. Has to be that even though that she's running 48 and you have the ability to run 48, run 48. You ran 49.1 indoors. See if you can run 48 in the first part of your outdoor season after that championship. Because we know she has the ability. It's just that those small gaps is what's making the big difference. So, like I said, guys, those are my 5 reasons and 5 ideas I think that, or 5, qualities that I think that Femke Bol can improve on to be a better competitor and challenger for Sydney McLaughlin. Because right now, from what I see and where I stand, Sydney McLaughlin's going to need all the competition that she can to push her abilities to running sub 50. I think she definitely can. That'll be a different video about what I think Sydney can change. And like I said, I'm not no Olympic coach or anything like that. It's just my 2 cents and things that I see. I'm really just using my eyes and what I see and which she can improve on if I was coaching her. But obviously I don't, so don't take no offense to it and don't get butthurt. But just my 2 cents. So I want to thank you guys for watching. If you like what I said or you have any comments, definitely leave them in the comment box below. And I want to thank you guys for watching. This is T Brown with Trackheads. Peace.